Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be discussing Anti-PT by Gpiee. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe now and get your BL Library card for the BL Library. Before we get started, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiling this manhwa, go ahead and click off now. No worries, I'll catch you next time. For those of you who decide to stick around, let's go over some content warnings. There may be references to blackmail and/or sextortion, homomesia, mentions of cheating, not between the main couple, dubcon, manipulation, and sexual assault, as these things do appear in the manhwa. But if that's okay with you, let's go and get started. Param is a perfect employee. He was a special hire at one of the top companies in Korea, one of the youngest employees to be promoted into his position, and he's an overall likable guy at work. Life doesn't get much better than this. Unfortunately though, Param isn't as perfect as it would seem. He has a secret he's kept under wraps for quite a long time. He has a crush on his coworker, Taehyun. To top it all off, Param has a terribly sensitive body. It doesn't take much before he's in a highly awkward situation. On a day like any other, Param does his best to get through the day without any issues. However, he ends up pinned against his work crush in a crowded elevator. This, of course, results in Param's typical awkward situation. As soon as he gets the chance, he escapes the elevator and heads to the nearest bathroom to help relieve himself. Along the way, he ends up running into a beefy delinquent type. Param is less than polite about the run-in and ends up rubbing the delinquent the wrong way. Unfortunately for Param, he drops his work ID, and when the delinquent follows Param to the restroom to return it, he ends up catching Param in the act. Thankfully, the chances of ever running into this guy are pretty much nil. Right? Wrong? That same day, Param heads down to the company gym to start his new workout routine, only to find that, quote, delinquent is not actually a delinquent, but a personal trainer for the company. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, the personal trainer, Hui, blackmails Param. Either he signs up for classes with Hui for double the standard rate, or Hui tells the entire company how much of a perv Param is. With no other choice, Param agrees, but it isn't long before these workouts go beyond that standard gym routine. To start with, this is beautiful. The art style is truly gorgeous. Param is so pretty, and Hui is sexy beyond belief. If the cover's not enough to convince you, let me just say there is no shortage of eye candy in this manhwa. It will have you drooling. On the other side of the triangle, Taehyun is fine, but when compared to Param and Hui, he might as well be a loaf of white bread next to some buttery croissants. He wasn't even on my radar when Param and Hui were involved. Now as for the story, this is a reasonably short series, even with the epilogue and or side stories included, so the story is pretty concise. That isn't a bad thing. That's part of the reason this particular story works so well. Often, when there's a love triangle, which is the case in this series, it can get pretty repetitive with the main character jumping between the two. That is not the issue here. Each guy gets a chance to win over Param in their own way, and then Param makes his decision. It's all pretty straightforward, which is rather refreshing for this genre. However, one downside of this being so short is that we don't get much from Taehyun's side of the triangle. Yes, he does get opportunities to win over Param, but it's pretty clear from the beginning that Hui is the end game. We also don't get that much background on Hui or Param, but we do get some pretty important background on Taehyun, which is a bit ironic when most of the time is spent on Hui and Param's side of the love triangle. Even with Taehyun's background, it didn't make me like him or sympathize with him. He was still uber creepy, in my opinion. While we get some brief glimpses into Param and Hui's past, I wish we could have delved deeper than what we got. At the time of writing the script, it took me around an hour or two to reread the series for this review. It's probably the fourth or fifth time I've read this thus far, and by the time this is posted, it'll probably be more. It's a good time for a short time, and it's well worth the coins I initially spent to read it for the first time around. It's not super detailed, and I wouldn't say the story is perfect, but it's a complete story with lots of sexy fun all along the way. You can't ask for much more than that. With all that being said, Anti-PT is beautiful. If you don't read it for any other reason, the art is definitely worth a peruse, at least. However, I think you'll find that the story and the sex are just as satisfying and equally enjoyable. This is a wonderful bite of BL to tide you over while you wait for your longer series to update. Highly recommend. So, have you read Anti-PT? If so, what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you not? Let me know in the comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!